Grease.
Grease. Praise be, Grease returns.
All the drama kids are going to be so happy.
Welcome to Idiot Plot, a comedic podcast critiquing, discussing, and analyzing the media industry through reviews, debates, and historical deep dives.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Idiot Plot. I'm David Yanish, and joining me there, my co-host, as always, Alex Overdahl.
Bonjour.
And Jess Neitzel.
Ahoy!
On today's episode, we're continuing our What We Watch series where we pick movies to make the other people watch they might not have already seen, with my pick, which is the action movie Hardcore Henry. But first, before we get into that, we're going to start with a little preview segment like we always do. And we're doing another news segment, with today talking about the big announcement of Paramount Plus, revealing not only its launch lineup, but what it expects to release in the next couple years. So Paramount Plus is a rebranding of the already existing CBS All Access service. And they have a ridiculous amount of content coming out, but there's a theme to it. One of the big announcements with their content coming out is that Paramount movies, a number of them, it doesn't say all of them, but a number of them include Mission Impossible 7, A Quiet Place Part 2, and for some reason, Paw Patrol the movie are going to hit Paramount Plus after being in theaters for 45 days. But apart from that, we have a bunch of new scripted shows coming. We have Criminal Minds, a Flashdance show. Halo is moving from Showtime over to Paramount Plus. An Italian Job show. A new Star Trek show about Captain Pike. The Man Who Fell to Earth starring Chiwetel Ejiofor. A Parallax View show. A spinoff of Yellowstone. Nickelodeon, we're having a bunch of new Avatar productions. So The Last Airbender is getting a bunch of new movies, TV shows, short form stuff. Dora the Explorer is getting a new show. Camp Coral, SpongeBob spinoff, new Rugrats, live action Fairly Odd Parents, a Nickelodeon Star Trek show, a whole bunch of stuff. Frasier's coming back. Instant Machinery's coming back. Reno 911's coming back. Beavis and Butthead's coming back. Workaholics is coming back.
Grease.
Praise be, Grease returns.
All the drama kids are going to be so happy.
And this is on top of the existent CBS All Access shows like Star Trek Picard, Star Trek Discovery, and The Good Fight.
That's still a thing?
All returning.
So
Yep.
all Paramount has is Star Trek.
Star Trek and Nickelodeon is essentially what they're going off of. But yeah, I just went through a bunch of stuff because there's a lot of shit coming out.
Nothing new though.
And that's the key. But this has been Paramount and Viacom.
But yeah, that's not. I don't think that's particularly surprising because that's kind of been the pattern for everybody, right? I mean, Disney. What original shows that aren't IP are on Disney Plus?
But not just everyone. Viacom's been doing this for years. You look at their big shows on their channels like Comedy Central and Nickelodeon. It's stuff from the 90s. It's South Park and SpongeBob. It's stuff that was on when we were kids.
NCIS.
Yeah, and it's NCIS. But it's
which
their
existed before and after all living people.
And this article doesn't talk about like the talks of Ren and Stimpy coming back and all the other stuff that's returning. Viacom's whole MO has been bringing back old stuff. Netflix had the Invader Zim and Rocko's Modern Life movies, along with the Hey Arnold movie that came out a little bit ago. Paramount and Viacom seem to be obsessed with bringing back dead franchises and keeping ones that already exist on life support. Like, who wants SpongeBob Babies or whatever the hell
Just go back to the original first 4 seasons, the golden age of SpongeBob.
Just re-air those like they're new. Kids aren't going to know the difference.
Yeah.
Well, what also interesting thing is...
You get new ones every couple of years.
You get this Dora the Explorer and the Fairly Odd Parents, they're going live action. Like, what's with that?
Well, we just got live action Dora a couple years ago with that movie that everyone kind of forgot existed. And Fairly Odd Parents too. Fairly Odd Parents has already been live action with those TV movies from about 10 years ago.
Yeah, they didn't work then either.
Yeah, but I think, with them, it's more trying to find that stability because Paramount's been very up and down. And I think, CBS All Access was a bust because they based it on their least conducive property to streaming. I mean, CBS and streaming, that's like the biggest contrast.
Oxymoron.
Right. So it's
CBS is the old people channel.
Yeah.
They don't know how to optimize.
A bunch of procedurals on a streaming service. Like, nobody goes on a streaming service to watch a procedural. They put it on and do their crossword puzzle, and then if they fall asleep, they don't have to worry because next week it's gonna be something new.
I don't know anybody.
I think the rebrand is working because everybody's talking about this like it's a new service.
I don't know anybody that currently has CBS All Access. Because it seemed like a nothing service. Paramount Plus sounds interesting. I doubt I will get it for a while.
My guess would be old people and Trekkies.
Right.
Well, because Disney Plus has that kid market down. Really, the game changers for this service are the Halo show and the Last Airbender stuff, because Last Airbender fans are rabid.
Yes, they are.
And they will flock to anything with that brand attached to it.
Yeah, it's true.
I should know because my wife...
They'll even hate watch the Shyamalan movie.
My wife is a giant fan of Last Airbender, and when I told her about the new shows coming out, she didn't even say words. She just made a bunch of incomprehensible noises of excitement, and that was it. But even with Avatar fans too, to kind of do a non sequitur, they're finding ways to make the crappy Shyamalan movie somehow like canon, so therefore it's not bad anymore. But by pretending like it's a play in the universe of the story, so that's not real. It's really funny when you look at it that way. But
the interesting thing will be is there's also that live action Avatar show that's going to Netflix. Is that still going there?
I think so. There's still more stuff.
Unless they pull the rug and be like, I've altered the deal.
Pray I don't alter it any further.
Well, everything I've read says that the Netflix show is still happening. Mm-hmm. Because they signed a long-term deal with Netflix before Paramount Plus was a thing. And they keep going with it. The big one, I think, is still Halo leaving Showtime.
Yeah. Well, and that, I mean... I think that shows confidence in it because that could be a big flagship show for them to be like, yeah, we have Halo on Paramount Plus, sign up. Showtime has a history of like quality shows, but quality shows that don't get a ton of viewership. And Halo is something that can attract people, obviously. I mean, this show's been in the works for a long time.
It's interesting because it seems like Paramount is even going further than Disney when it comes to sacrificing their pre-existing distribution models to bolster the lineup of the streaming service. Because Reno 911, Into Amy Schumer, they aren't going to Comedy Central, they're going to Paramount Plus. Nickelodeon, the new SpongeBob show, I believe it's going Nickelodeon later, but it's going Paramount Plus first. Halo is basically leaving Showtime high and dry for content. Criminal Minds not being on CBS. It's
that stuff.
Well, it's over. It was done like for a year, and they're already bringing it back.
I thought it was done.
It's really stupid.
It did, and now it's back again. It literally ended a year ago, almost exactly.
and it's already back. I mean, we're not
324 episodes. Mother of God.
What we don't know is if Reno 911's Quibi show is coming to Paramount Plus when it really should be.
Yeah, because I want to see that, but I can't because first off, I wasn't going to sign up for that, and second off, it doesn't even exist anymore.
Anyway, I think that's all there is for Paramount Plus. I'm excited for some of these. Like, I'll watch the Workaholics movie.
Halo sounds cool, interesting.
But
yeah, I think they have people attached.
For what?
Halo.
Yeah. Halo will get people to sign up, but they might do the Mandalorian thing where they sign up. Halo's done. Everyone just drops it until it comes back. That's probably what's going to happen. But they'll get people.
Halo and Avatar will be their big flagships to bring people in.
But we'll see what happens. Can they get Disney Plus numbers, or will they kind of follow more like HBO Max? We'll find out. Paramount Plus launches March 4th. or I guess relaunches March 4th. It's not really.
Your app logo changes in your streaming box.
Yep. Some more. We'll get some more streaming services, and that as the cheaper than cable model becomes just cable, it costs
separate accounts and.
Somebody should really package all of these streaming services into one giant package you just pay to one company.
Quiet. Disney might get ideas.
Or Comcast.
Yeah, buy everybody.
And with that, we're going to move on to our main topic today, which is my pick for movies, which I know Overall was really excited to watch. And that is the 2015 first-person action movie, Hardcore Henry. Now, the big question I know Alex, I think, asked me is why? And the big reason why I picked it is a guilty pleasure for me for movies. I was known in high school and college as being kind of a snob, which I thought was kind of unfair. I was known as the guy that loved the Oscar bait, that loved all the big super critic movies, all the old ones. In reality, my big guilty pleasure topic that I would see no matter what is an action movie. I freaking love action movies. I love shutting my brain off, going to a movie theater, eating a bunch of popcorn, and just laughing and having a good time. But there's a problem. And it all started a few years back with the movie John Wick. Now, I love the John Wick movies. I think they're fantastic action movies. John Wick 2 is probably one of the best action movies ever made. That being said, what they started was a trend of basically every action movie being a John Wick clone. Whether that be in story or in style, every movie just felt derivative, and it kind of felt like it was when 300 came out, and every movie wanted to be 300.
Oh, man. Yeah.
It's exactly what it felt like for me. And then here comes Hardcore Henry, which, even from the first time I saw it was announced, had my attention because it sounded like something completely different. Here's a first-person movie, which, if you don't know what that means, it means the camera is mounted to some dude's head and he runs around shooting people and you see it from his point of view. And eventually, the movie came out. I saw it in theaters with Justin, actually. I think it was one of the first times we went to a movie, but I saw it with him. And while I'll admit, it's not the best movie I've ever seen at all.
Far from it.
It's a really fun time, and I commend it for doing something different. So I want us all to watch it and talk about not just Hardcore Henry as an action movie and all the stuff it does right and wrong and unique and cliched, but also just action movies in general and how a movie like this, how does this fit in the action movie landscape? So, like I mentioned, I love this movie. I know it has faults. The story is not very good. A lot of the dialogue is pretty cringy.
Got some good humor in it, though.
But the action scenes are mind-blowing. But I want to start, though, because me and Justin, we saw this in theaters, and we were laughing, we were having a good time. But Alex, this was your first time watching it. So I want to hear your thoughts on what you thought 5 years after this movie has come out. I want to know what you're thinking.
It was a movie, kind of. I mean, certainly some of what they did is applaudable. I mean, I came in pretty resistant to the first person idea, and I came out thinking that this can work. I don't know how well it works in this. There are moments where it works very well, and there are moments where I thought I was going to puke and had no idea what was going on. And that's kind of a problem throughout. Is half of it I know what's going on. About a quarter of that I know what's going on and and then the other half of it I just have no idea. Because I mean, you're right. The plot. I come in expecting dumb action movie, fun action movie. I'm not expecting great plot and dialogue and character, but it was pretty bad. that category.
Now, the plot of the movie is you are Henry, a robot man who wakes up with his wife, brought back to life as like this cyborg super soldier, where you're attacked by some guy with telepathic powers that are never explained.
Telekinetic Tommy Wiseau.
I was waiting for that.
That was it.
I noticed
I've been waiting to say that for like a week.
But I noticed that because I watched the movie just today before we started recording, the first time in like 3 years. I'm like, you know what? This dude said the Tommy Wiseau.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Oh, hi, Henry.
But anyway, this telekinetic villain who's trying to make an army of super soldiers, he attacks Henry, or I guess technically you and your wife, and you escape, but they kidnap your wife. But you meet up with your friend Jimmy, played by Charlton Copley, who is acting out of his mind in this movie.
I'd like to know how much coke he was on.
All of it.
As much as that one version of him took.
That's what I'm getting at. It's like one character is a coke addict. It's like, I think you were on coke the entire movie.
Yeah, but Charlton Copley plays multiple versions of the same character. That makes sense when you see the movie.
Does it?
As much sense as this movie can make.
As much as a telekinesis villain can make.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, yeah, it makes more sense than that. They don't even explain that.
You have to read the prequel comic, because that's what people do.
They don't explain it.
But so you and Charlton Copley's Jimmy go on this big adventure together where you do a bunch of different action stuff. You go to different places, you shoot stuff up, you do a bunch of car chases, tank fights. There's a helicopter at one point. It's a much of roller coaster as you can get.
A Russian bathhouse.
There's all sorts of stuff. And I guess I'll start this next section with, what did you guys think specific? Because we know the story wasn't great. Pretty paper thin. Doesn't make sense. But what did you guys think of the action sequences specifically? Because that's why you watch this movie, right? Like, you don't watch it for the story. You watch it because gun go burr. So
I remember the first time we saw it, it took me about 15-20 minutes not to feel sick during all the action sequences, because basically it's like he's moving at lightning speed and you're like trying to keep up with what he's doing. But as the movie goes along, the action scenes get a lot better and more choreographed, and you see what they're trying to do more, rather than the beginning where it was all spur of the moment, off its hinges while you're trying to adjust to this new way of watching a film.
Well, Justin, we're also really stupid, and we sat like second row from the front by choice.
That's right, we did, didn't we?
Yeah, so we could have the maximum effect.
I think if I had done that, I watched it on TV. If I had done it in theater, like, I think 90% of it would have been unable to comprehend.
Well, this is probably the third or fourth time I watched the movie, and this time I watched enough times where all the shakiness didn't affect me. And I guess a big thing to say with this movie is the camera shakes a lot, but also this isn't a one-take movie like Birdman. There are cuts. And the first time you watch the movie, the cuts mess with your head. Because it's how they cut, right? It's not just that they cut. It's the cut.
They will cut and skip legitimately 5-6 seconds of movement, but still be in the same area.
And that messes with my head.
8 steps.
At least it messed with my head. Watching it this time, I was perfectly fine. It didn't mess with me at all. I was having a grand old time. I
think it's because you know what to expect this time around.
Yeah, I would agree. But then again, you shouldn't have a movie that you have to watch multiple times to be able to physically watch.
Especially when, like, again, since the story's not there, it's like, am I really going to watch this, like, 5 times?
To be fair, though, when they were editing it, they probably saw it a bunch of times, so they're like, oh, I'm used to it. They like...
Well, and to the movie's credit, it stabilizes by about the halfway point before it gets completely off the rails at the end. But they kind of figured out what they were doing. It's just a shame that they figured out what they were doing as they were making the movie.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, it's not just that you're getting used to it; it's that legitimately the first act stuff and then like the first part of the second act is not as well filmed as like some stuff later. Until, I mean, for me, the final action scene is also like impossible to watch. But
I disagree. But continue. I think you're wrong, but continue.
Well, yeah, I couldn't tell what the fuck was happening. But the one before that was the best choreographed one and the most stable as far as the camera. So you can tell that might have been what they shot last. And at that point, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing with this film, I think, on some of these action scenes, too, is that they just seem to figure out what they're doing, and they seem to figure out what they're doing on the hardest shit. Like the action scenes of just Henry chasing someone down are shaky as fuck. But then he's like on a motorcycle jumping from van to van, and that's extremely stable, extremely smooth. Oh, like no issues watching it.
They made a right decision of filming the lesser action stuff first. We're like, okay, let's get a feel for this, and then also they're like, okay, we got this.
Well, and also
now we won't make you lose your lunch.
And also with the early stuff too, I know I was watching it just today. There's a lot of shots where the guy who plays Henry is just looking down at the ground a lot. And so you get lots of ground shots. And those, I remember recent theaters, those made me want to throw up the most.
It has a sudden urge to go down.
Yeah, there's a lot of just in general looking around or down too much. Like, I know that's what a person would do, but it's just like, you know, thinking about a video game, first-person game. There are things you would do if you were in first person, the quick, jerky movements that you don't do, so that you can comprehend it easier. And that's probably something they should have done.
I think
just have more straight on.
I think the problem is a camera doesn't have your
peripheral vision.
Yes.
Right. So the movements need to be more like they need. When he turns, it needs to be slower than he would actually turn, or it's like impossible to watch.
But that said,
I think there are like I said at the start, kind of. There is a world where this could work really well, and there are moments, a couple of moments to me that work really well and are well choreographed. Sometimes I felt like they were hiding bad choreography with the style cutting all over the place, and then other times they keep it steady and keep it rolling, and it's well done.
What are the moments that you think were well done?
The end of Act 2 action scene, there's a big shootout in like this abandoned area that is super steady. There's a lot of movement. There's a lot of dudes getting shot.
Are you talking about where they escort crippled Jimmy on the elevator?
Yeah. That sequence is, to me, by far the most well-made of the action scenes. And then before the chase scene gets pukey again, there's one, I think early Act 2, where he's going through an apartment complex, something like that, looking for this guy. And just the way he's kind of sneaking around, the gun's up, but like the movement is really smooth. And I thought that was a really good sequence. So those are the ones that are off the top of my head, that those ones worked better.
I really like just the main amount of time from when he enters the strip club. Yes, I have to say that. But when he enters the strip club to about when he reaches that final action scene, I think all of those are extremely smooth, really well done action sequences. Like just that stretch of the film. Because I like the strip club shootout. I love the motorcycle chase. I absolutely love the hell chase, because that's a bunch of stunts where I'm like, how the hell did they do that? I mean, some of those, because when you talk about stunts, if something goes wrong, someone could get hurt. Some of those stunts, if it doesn't go entirely perfect, someone's losing their head. I
mean, guy literally throws a grenade in a tank, explodes, and jumps up and lands on the back of a motorcycle.
Yeah, like I don't know how they did that one.
Yeah, I would say that one. If I remember some of it being hard to watch, but still very impressive. Until the helicopter shows up, the after effects. Who killed Captain Alex helicopter?
I just get so hyped watching this movie because there's something about the adrenaline rush of the film with the guns going bang, bang, bang that I think is lost because I think people think these kind of movies are just tacky now, and they kind of are. But there's just something fun.
There are plenty now. I mean, that just there's little effort into. Well, it's not like they have to have complex plot, but not even like dialogue or anything. And then the action is very lazy for a lot of action movies now. Let's just try and do a John Wick thing, and let's have one impressive action scene, and everybody will go see it.
Let's just have Bruce Willis say some stupid phrase and hope it hits off.
And I get why that, like, I also, it's the cynical part, but I get why they keep doing ones like that, because you have lots of, like, interesting, smart action movies like The Nice Guys, kind of an action movie buddy cop type thing, ones like that don't do well.
Mm-hmm. It's really strange watching what action movies will do well and which ones don't. I'll get more into that in a second and talk about how this movie did. But I wanted to mention before we do that, I have to commend this movie for just the range of action scenes, being a first-person movie and one of the first big ones. It includes basically every big action set piece or scene that you would expect. You have a foot chase, a car chase, a close quarters shootout, a wide open shootout, hand-to-hand combat with just 1v1, hand-to-hand combat with a bunch of dudes. It checks all the boxes for action scenes.
You get your car chase, which looks like it's off a Russian dash cam.
Does it do everything perfectly well? No, it doesn't. But like, I have to commend them from trying to do basically every action set piece that you would want to see them do in first person. They attempt to do it.
Just doing something different that hasn't really been done.
But going with that,
yeah, that's the despite not really liking it. That's what I will say is that I do appreciate that they did actually try something somewhat different.
And that's what I kind of want to say. Before I get into how this movie did, because I think it's important before I say this, because this movie did not do well at the box office. It made $16 million on a $2 million budget, which sounds good, but this was an indie film that was crowdfunded and then bought by STX and Hui Brothers for $10 million.
Oh my gosh.
So $2 million budget is one thing, but really it costs $10 million that to make up, plus marketing, because this was a wide release movie. So to make $16 million in wide release is not good. It's not good at all, because it had a really strong festival reception, played out to many sold out crowds, standing ovations. People loved it. The people that were seeking it out loved it. But as we found out,
they overpaid for it.
Yeah, they overpaid for it. And as we found out, the audience at large wasn't ready for it and didn't accept it, didn't want to see it. And that's
how many people are actually looking for it.
I mean, I remember seeing ads for it everywhere, and I was like the only one. I had to talk you and the other person we went and saw it with into seeing it. I remember that.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
But I also remember that the other person wanted to see Batman v Superman. And I was very much against seeing that for a second time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you and me had already seen it. We're like, we want to. After I watched the trailer, I was kind of curious of seeing this.
And that's something I want to say. If you see a movie that you think looks like it's doing something new and is doing something interesting, and maybe it doesn't look the best, but you want to support what they're doing, go see it. Support that company, support those filmmakers with your wallet, because that's the only way that you will get more of this. Like I know, Alex, you mentioned that you are curious to see them do more of this. Not that this film.
Well, man, I said it could work. I didn't say that I necessarily want to. It could work.
Okay, so you say it could work. We'll never find out because we'll never make another one because this movie didn't do well at the box office. Because this film didn't make money, we'll never see another one because they'll never try it again because they'll call this a failure.
Maybe not an action movie, but some indie dude's gonna probably do like some first-person movie at some point.
Well, we've seen it in TV. We've seen TV do it. It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia did it a couple years ago.
Which one was that?
It's the one where you're from the perspective of
Frank.
character.
That's right.
Yeah.
That was a good episode.
So they have done it. They've talked about doing a spiritual sequel to this because there is no sequel that you can really do with this story.
Yeah, you can't make a sequel if there's no story.
And that everyone's dead. And the critical reception to this movie was it was mind-blowingly low. It has a Rotten Tomatoes score of 51% from critics, but CinemaScore audiences gave it a C+, which in CinemaScore language is like a quadruple F-.
Yeah. Anything lower than an A- is for CinemaScore is like trash. But that also shows that part of why the reason failed then is that people went to see it and didn't like it.
Which is shocking to me because I actually don't know anyone that flat out hated it.
But I could see it. Like, for me, that's the thing. I could see someone hating it. Like, really, for me, it's very easy to see because I almost did.
The other thing is how many people do you know with motion sickness? You tell them not to go see this. I
have motion sickness, and I saw it, and so does my dad. And he saw it, and he liked it.
It made me want to throw up anyway.
But that's an interesting point. I will say though that in this movie's native Russia, because it's a Russian movie, it's beloved. It's beloved.
I'm sure. I bet people are like, "Oh, I know that area."
Well, you could only
I've seen it happen there before.
Well, you could only make this movie in Russia. I watched a bit of the director's commentary, just to kind of wanted to see how he did some of the scenes and stuff. And he's like, "Yeah, we filmed this without a permit, and we just like there's a scene where they walk and run up on top of a bridge. They just did that." There's no safety people. There's no harness. There's no like permits. They just filmed it.
There's no stopping traffic.
Yeah,
but I think I don't think it's particularly shocking that like the reception wasn't super high. Though it was actually higher than I was expecting it to be. I think because people applauded the effort.
Yeah, but but for Russia films, kind of like what I was saying. That's really the interesting part about this. Is this technically a foreign movie? I do want to see more Russian cinema if this is what Russians watch. Because I think Deadpool is still the highest grossing movie in Russia of all time, which makes perfect sense. It shouldn't be. I'm not shocked by that at all. Especially because like they talked about how a bunch of the stunts in the movie are actually botched takes. Like there's the one shot that's even in the trailer of the woman getting demolished on the escalator. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. That was not supposed to happen. She just got blasted.
Fucked.
And they just kept going. You see in the movie the guy tries to check out her because he goes, "Oh my god," and they just kept going with it, and she was fine. The other one is at the beginning with the one cop that pulls them over. Sharto Copley thought he ran him over with the car, but didn't. And speaking of that, I want to give a shout out to some of the cast members, specifically Sharto Copley, and Sharto Copley.
And sudden Tim Roth.
Yeah, random Tim Roth for 30 seconds.
Who has
never showed up.
He's never explained, and that part does.
Well, he's the dad. I don't think that needs explanation. That he's the dad.
Yeah, but like, why is that in here?
Because his dad, his first memory that he comes back is his dad giving him good dad pep talk.
Does he just call him Doesn't he just call him a pussy?
No, he says he'll never call you a pussy. The pussy is what his dad called him, and he'd never do that. But he needs to step up and decide if he's going to get kicked down, or if he's gonna fight back. I've watched the movie like 5 times. I know all of it at this point.
I also have discount Jennifer Lawrence and Haley Bennett.
This is like her first role, isn't it?
Yeah, she's actually supposed to be. Like, I haven't seen her other stuff, but she's done well in other things as like a lead.
She hasn't really blown up like I thought she would.
Because Swallow was supposed to be good. I don't know if she's done anything since then, but I remember hearing about that one.
And then
was it the year's biggest Oscar attempt bomb, Hillbilly Elegy? Oof.
And the guy who plays the lead villain, Akan, Danila Kozlovsky, is actually like Russia's biggest film star. He's like their Brad Pitt. In this movie, he's Russian telekinetic Tommy Wiseau, but
it's horrible.
But in Russia, he's like their number 1 movie star.
Oh, his other roles are better than this.
But also, I gotta ask, what happened to Charlton Copley?
I don't know.
Like, he was a big thing there for a while, and then he just kind of disappeared.
He just did movies with Neil Blomkamp, and then did this, and then he's kind of
part of the A-Team, and
he did Free Fire, which is really good.
I don't know. I always welcome Charles Copley. So, and he was on the forgotten Sony PlayStation TV show Powers. Back when Sony tried to do TV, which I never watched, even though I'm a fan of the comic book that's based off of. I'm also just a fan of Charlton Copley in general. Well, his schedule was busy enough because, fun fact time, the climax of this movie is Henry versus like 800 dudes, but it was originally supposed to be Henry and every Jimmy from the movie fighting everyone at once. But this movie's production schedule was super messed up, and they filmed it over like 2 years, like just back and forth as they got money, and Charlton Copley couldn't do it anymore, which is why his character just kind of randomly F's off towards the end. I guess I would have liked to see that just because I want to see more Charlton Copley.
Apparently he's playing the Unabomber in a movie.
That doesn't shock me.
It's gonna come out this year.
Is it directed by Neil Blomkamp?
No, shockingly. I don't even know the guy who's directing it. It's an unknown guy as far as I know.
Didn't we just get that TV show about the Unabomber? Why we need more Unabomber?
That one was about the guy who, like the agent who hunted the Unabomber, I believe.
But Unabomber's still in it.
He's another like, infamous person that everybody's obsessed with making a bunch of movies about.
Because Unabomber, because I think Paul Bettany was a Unabomber in that one. It's hard thinking that Paul Bettany and Charlton Copley are going to play the same dude. That seems weird. But I welcome more Charlton Copley. And staring at the Wikipedia page for this movie, I see another name that I remember seeing on things, but Murbik Mombatov. That guy was like the bizarre, crappy action movie GOAT for the longest time. Because he did Wanted, which didn't suck. And then made like Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter, the Ben-Hur remake.
Ooh. How dare they?
And then produced that really bizarre looking animated movie 9, which I liked as a kid. We watched it recently. It is not good.
Doesn't hold up, huh?
It does not hold up. It has one of the greatest trailers ever made.
Oh, I remember seeing the trailer.
But the movie does not hold up. But now I want to talk about the director, because I want to switch gears a little bit, because the director is an interesting study. Ayla Naishuller, I butchered that name, but it's Russian.
What do you want?
It's a bunch of consonants. I can't pronounce it. I can barely pronounce English, let alone Russian. This was his
speaking as a second language to us.
This was his directorial debut. Started out as a music video for his band Biting Elbows, which has a couple songs in the movie, and that he turned into a movie. But he's also doing a movie coming out this year, in fact, called Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk as a CIA agent or a family man who turns out to be a CIA agent who has to fight his way out. It essentially looks to be yet another John Wick. John Wick ripoff. So I want to talk about.
You can make this movie, but you have to make it like John Wick.
So I want to talk about action movies now, because Hardcore Henry was something different. We established that, and it wasn't successful. It failed. Do you guys think there's any way that we can take action movies out of this rut that we're in? Like, what needs to be done to stop the John Wick curse that has now plagued action movies?
Well, I think there's a few things. First off, I mean, we've talked about some good ones. Like I mentioned, some like The Nice Guys, good ones that bombed. But in general, you just have to try and keep making things that are good. And then second, I think there needs to, like with any overflooded genre, like the cinematic universes now, John Wick or John Wick ripoffs need to fail. Basically, like they need to drop off to the point where people look for something else. And superhero movies have kind of also taken over the action market. So, and then the ones that aren't superhero ones are John Wick ones.
It's kind of funny that we're saying that John Wick needs to fail, considering John Wick was kind of also a revelation in action movies.
Right, but if you want, if you want a new revelation, there needs to the old way needs to fail, basically. But yeah, John Wick, it's weird to think, was once that breath of fresh air that we're talking about, and now has turned into a cinematic universe.
But that leads into I think an important question, which is, are stuff like superhero movies really action movies in the traditional sense? Or are they just movies with action in them, if that makes sense?
Movies with action in them.
Because I don't know if I consider superhero movies to be action movies.
I would say, like, I agree with that, and yet also, they've also made it harder for action movies to break in, and they are intruding on that space by being that big and having that much action in them. That they're basically not action movies, but they're taking over action movies.
I think you're right. I also think part of it is just the oversaturation of straight to DVD, straight to streaming trash action movies of Bruce Willis or some other old dude.
Some old action star. That's the other thing. We need to get younger actors in these movies to do more stunts and stop cutting these movies to hell.
Taken 3.
Well, anything with Liam Neeson in it, except for Cold Pursuit or The First Taken, is pretty bad. And if you see Bruce Willis,
we had before, right? The Taken clones before.
Yeah, we had Taken clones. If you see, it's kind of where we were before John Wick. It was Taken clones. It was 300 clones with the because 300 introduced the world to unnecessary, crappy slow motion,
which somehow
stopped.
But it's kept going.
And then we had the Taken, which was the gritty, shaky cam action movie, and
which was really foreign. Although I do like the First Taken.
First Taken's good, and then they made Tuken, and then Threeken, and then
Ayukin,
and it just got really bad. Like looking at recent action movies, I just have a Google up recent ones. You have Monster Hunter, which is a whole other beast.
Yeah, that's a whole different rabbit hole.
That's a whole different monster, no pun intended. But that's what anything with Mila Djokovic, is going to be terrible. But there's that. There's Tenet, which I guess is an action movie, but that's it's Chris Nolan.
It's hard to qualify. It's got
some very unique action, I will admit, but it's not really an action movie. It's more of a sci-fi.
See, I think
sci-fi Bond kind of crossover thing.
See, the action movie that I think of that I wish more people took from and didn't was Dredd.
Oh yeah.
Dredd's awesome.
Yeah.
Dredd's amazing.
I
and nobody saw it.
Because Dredd is like The Raid, but better. And there are a decent amount of clones of The Raid, basically.
And that's the part too, is like no one took anything from Dredd. And I think from Hardcore Henry, to go back to that movie, I don't think the thing to take from Hardcore Henry is first person action. I don't know if you need to take that from that movie. What you need to take from that movie is just balls to the walls insanity. I mean, Hardcore Henry is what happens when you take like cocaine and put that on film stock and run it through a projector. We need more of that, at least in my opinion. We need just more insane fun times at the movie that maybe don't make you wanna throw up.
Well, isn't that kind of, I mean, they're not great movies, but that's kind of what Fast and Furious is doing to an extent. I mean, those movies are absolutely absurd and know it.
It's what they're doing now. And while I wish they weren't so stupid and maybe a little more hard R, they're not bad. I call those action movies. I call them.
That's what we really need, is the hard R action movie back again, like The Expendables.
Yeah, I think that's a genre that, like we've talked about, the cheap action movies that are getting shoved to streaming services and like no care put into them. A lot of those are like kind of R-rated and just CGI blood and like, let's put some CGI gore in it and throw it on the front page of Netflix for a week. I want my blood squibs. Bring back the squibs.
The CGI blood looks so bad. At least with Hardcore Henry, a lot of the gore was satisfying but not nauseating, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like I got my hardcore gore. Dudes blow up. The main bad guy gets his head. Spoiler alert for a 5-year-old movie. Gets his head basically cut in half by the dude's eye socket. That's what I want to see. But now gore is just CGI blood, like just a ridiculous amount of CGI blood and a human amount coming out of everyone from just a normal gunshot. And that just looks bad. Mortal Kombat could be interesting. That could maybe be a game changer for some of the R-rated action movies.
Yeah, that could be. That's one that has potential to be just dumb fun, entertaining.
Which is really all they should be. Occasionally, you will get your Terminator 2s, your Mad Max Fury Roads, those kind of movies that, you know...
Mission Impossible, Fallout.
Yeah, the ones that have fantastic stories combined with fantastic action.
Well, I remember when I came out of that, I remember saying, I'm like, that's kind of what I wanted Deadpool to be, with the hard R, guts and blood and everything and action. And
yeah, I remember that.
It wasn't.
That Hardcore Henry is what I wish Deadpool was, at least tonally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna very hard disagree.
I wanted more gore from Deadpool. I wanted more gore from Deadpool.
Well, I mean, the gore, yeah, but the tone thing and stuff. I mean, like comparing the writing of the two and the dialogue. Like,
well, I'm not talking about dialogue in writing. I'm talking strictly on the cocaine tone of just balls to the wall, gunshot, bang, 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 bang. I mean, Deadpool came up with reasons for writing of why they can't use guns because he forgot them in the van. Which was a joke to basically try and justify them being too lazy and cheap to put in a giant gun battle.
Yeah.
Deadpool should have gun battles. Deadpool should be launching a grenade launcher into a dude and then blowing him up. Like that's what Deadpool should be. That's what I mean when I say tone. I want that pure cocaine. Yeah, I don't want the dialogue of Hardcore Henry, but I want blood raining down upon me. I want it to be like Gallagher when he smashes the watermelon onto the audience. God, looking through action movies that have been coming out. First off, why does WWE make so many action movies now?
They have been for many years. It's called WWE.
But they're making there's 6 Marine movies. There's something called Money Plane. which looks about as
Oh, yeah,
good.
you didn't know about the Marine movies?
I kind of blocked that out.
The Marine Cinematic Universe, the true MCU.
Well, it's like they have action horror movies, and somehow Get Out is that.
Get Out's not an action movie. What? No. It's not an action movie.
It's a good movie. It's not an action movie.
Deeply.
But it is interesting, like, what do people label action movies sometimes? Like, they'll just slap it on something, and it's like, that's not an action movie.
If it has an action sequence in it, they'll call it an action movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't consider Blade Runner 2049 an action movie, but that's
Right, that's definitely not an action movie.
That's definitely not. I wish kind of was at some points.
yeah. I know. Baywatch action comedy.
What? No.
It's too stupid to be a comedy.
Get the hell out of here with that.
Actually, I heard like that was one of the complaints, is that it straight up turned into an action movie. It's like Hangover 3.
Hangover 3 is like, is that an action movie? I thought it became like a serious drama.
It basically is. It becomes like a serious drama and action movie in like the back half. It's completely stupid.
I remember being confused watching it. Like, is this even The Hangover anymore? What am I watching?
No, this is Todd Phillips warming up for Joker.
Essentially is.
God, the action movie genre is so bad. Look at all these recent movies. It's so bad now. We need more Hardcore Henrys just to give us something to look forward to and something to commend, or at least attempt to like. Like, I compare Hardcore Henry. Do you guys remember the movie Escape from Tomorrow?
No, I haven't seen that.
It was a sci-fi movie that these guys guerrilla shot in Disney World. And it's terrible. It's a horrible movie. But everyone went to go see it to support someone trying to guerrilla shoot something in Disney World. We need more people. We need more people willing to take big risks, and more people willing to watch movies that may not be good just because they have big risks. Like,
well, one movie I would almost equate to the hardcore Henry kind of thing was like Kingsman's action was pretty good and over the top, but then you had the second one and it was kind of like a little
Kingsman
too much.
2 sucks.
I know. I'm so disappointed.
I love Kingsman 1.
That's a good movie.
But
I think also, like, it is, you should do new things, but at the same time, like, I'm not going to blame people if it doesn't look good for not seeing it.
But I
want to do new things, but you also want to do them well.
But I remember everyone saying when like Crazy Rich Asians came out, people were urging to go see it, whether you want to see it or not, to support diversity. Like I talked to many people that went and saw it not because they wanted to see it, but because they wanted to support more Asian representation in film, which is good for you and that stuff. But when it comes to other kind of genres, I think that mindset gets kind of forgotten. Which, yeah, I'm not saying you have to see it if you don't think it looks bad, but I know many people that thought Hardcore Henry looked good and didn't see it anyway, and then were shocked when it failed.
Surprise Pikachu face.
Yeah, because you didn't see it. I was gonna see it. Yeah, but you didn't.
I think an example of that for me that was something a movie I actually enjoyed a lot was Kick-Ass. When that came out, and like it just did like but there were lots of people surprised it didn't do better when it got really good reviews and people liked it. It's like, well, yeah, because you didn't go see it.
Usually the people that are like, oh, I'm surprised that didn't go. You like, did you go see it? No. It's
people that don't see movies in theaters and didn't even and didn't when there still were theaters open. They get shocked they don't get the movies they want because they wait till it's on streaming. They can watch it for no extra cost. Like, which is fine. If that's what you do, that's fine. But don't be shocked when the movies you want to see don't get made.
And it's also just that they don't get attempted very much anyway outside of indie scene, because with the power studios have now, as we've talked about in other ones, like they're gonna use IP, they're gonna use stuff. Like they see John Wick, it's like, oh cool, let's make a John Wick. Like they don't go, oh cool, there's a market for interesting action movies, let's try this interesting action movie that's completely different. It's, oh, there's a John Wick, let's get a John Wick. And let's get ourselves a superhero movie, let's get ourselves this or that. Let's get ourselves a Get Out, let's do that.
And there's a way around that Hardcore Henry found, and that's crowdfunding, which is the way around the studio system. And you don't hear about crowdfunding films as much as you used to. For a while there, it was like the big thing is to crowdfund movies.
Yeah, I feel like it's not there as much anymore now that streaming services are so active in buying stuff in the festival scene that festival sales are up.
Well, and also it wasn't very successful. I mean, the only two movies I can think of that were crowdfunded that were successful and got like purchased by a major distributor were Super Troopers 2 and Hardcore Henry. Those are the only two I can think of.
What was the one? She's like a photographer, and there was like a TV like
Veronica Mars.
Yeah,
I think that one did well too.
Yeah, that one made a bunch of money.
But what makes
I think they even restarted the series again after that.
Yeah, they did for a little bit. It wasn't successful. But Super Troopers and Veronica Mars were based off pre-existing IPs, which I think helped them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
For the most part, Laser Team from Rooster Teeth was one that was successful. Looking through some crowdfunded films here, Reading Rainbow is not a movie, but that was successful. Most of these I have not heard of. The Sweet Blood of Jesus.
Yeah.
Wasn't that Spike Lee?
Yeah, it's Spike Lee. And it looks like it didn't do great at the box office.
What does Spike Lee need crowdfunding?
This was pre-Black Klansman Spike Lee.
Still, this is a huge director.
Well, and I feel like for all these ones...
It's probably because Miracle at St. Anna bombed so hard that he ran out of money.
Well, and some of these like Blue Mountain State, the movie. Laser
so
Team,
disappointing.
But I think for every one of those, like for every Super Troopers 2, there's like 200 ones that either didn't get the money or got the money but never got finished and never got made and took it and ran. Because that was the big thing for a while. But it got them past the studio system. It got Super Troopers 2 made. It brought Veronica Mars back. It got Hardcore Henry made. And then Hardcore Henry then did the festival circuit, and that's how it got picked up by the Chinese company STX. But crowdfunding has kind of died because the indie movie boom is just kind of back in general.
Yeah, which is that's a counter, but that has definitely let the action movies out to an extent.
Yep.
I think Overall's right. I mean, you have all these streaming services looking for new content. I mean, someone's going to pick up something.
Yeah, there's that's what's talked about. We talked about obviously this was a pre-Rona topic, but like the decline of theaters and stuff, but it was like, how that affects indie movies. But actually indie movie purchases have been pretty high because people are looking for that counter to just the ridiculous franchise, flooding. But that has left the mid-budget movies, a lot of which are action, kind of in the dust.
And they need content. And that's probably its own bubble that will probably pop sooner or later of just the oversaturation of indie films. Because how many are going to be good?
Well, I think not necessarily because, it was something that had high levels before, not necessarily festival circuit, but like more, of these low budget ones. Indie is just kind of the new way of getting those out there. Like big studios don't pick up those small pictures anymore, but other people do.
But it's more how successful are these small budget pictures on streaming? How much money do they generate for these streaming services? Because I don't see these low budget ones popping up on my Amazon Prime feed or my Netflix feed. All I get is We Can Be Heroes and Project Power and Bridgerton and all the other big ones they want me to see.
It has also been more than just the streaming services, though. With companies like A24 that have risen in that scene and buy a bunch of stuff.
A24 and the Purina are basically saving a lot of the indie shit.
Yeah, so like just someone like A24 who buys tons and tons of films per year, they're not going anywhere.
Hopefully not. I really hope
they're making good money.
What they need to do is not do what some of these stuff like what Miramax almost did, and what kind of killed them as Miramax went from low budget to mid budget, and that destroyed them. They have to stick with what they're doing, not try and do anything super big. Don't overextend themselves. They're doing
and
fine.
Don't
Please
sell.
Yeah, and don't sell.
That's probably the big thing. Like, don't sell to a bigger company,
like Disney.
Well, Disney will buy them.
They'll eat you. They'll drink you up.
Because Disney has Searchlight, and it seems like they're leaving Searchlight alone. It seems like they're doing that. Hopefully they keep doing that.
They do, yeah.
For how long, though? That's always the question, too.
But A24, I don't think that they'll sell. If they do, it's because they get a huge offer.
I think they're also just interested in keeping the indie scene, and then Blumhouse, of course, we talked about for horror. They do a lot, but they've done more horror too.
Does A24 partner with a bigger studio like Blumhouse does, or are they strictly by themselves?
A24 is A24 is the bigger one that people partner with. Early on, I think they might have done some stuff with other people, maybe, but now A24 is the one that the smaller companies partner with.
That's good. A24 is like the Criterion right now of indie shit.
Yeah, I can't believe Whiplash was Blumhouse, but that shows they do more than just horror.
That was Blumhouse?
It was when Blumhouse was on the come up and they're looking for everything.
Well, I suppose it could be considered a horror movie if you think J.K. Simmons' character is scary.
He does scare me. So,
not like you think, but he's scary.
Not my tempo.
So it looks like A24 has partnered with Apple TV for some stuff, which I think might be runner related. They partnered with 3 films with Apple. One of them is the documentary Boy State. Then you have On the Rocks, which is the Bill Murray, Rashida Jones, Sofia Coppola movie. That was apparently
those are basically like distribution deals.
And some called The Elephant Queen, which is like it's their documentary.
Yeah. So in the past,
but that's probably more. But that's probably more Apple. That's probably more Apple TV wanting to work with A24 more than this A24 needing to work with Apple TV.
Right. But there's no, we talk about Blumhouse for horror. I don't see a Blumhouse for action, right? There's no studio that's greenlighting a bunch of really good indie action.
There have been attempts at that, but it's never panned out. There should be.
Right, I could see that happening in response to all of these other things, because you've got A24 that kind of does a little bit of everything. You got Blumhouse that's mostly horror. Like, there's room for that in the market.
Do you know what we need?
You don't just go to Netflix or something.
We need a mid-budget, low-budget action movie that does for Thomas Jane what Taken did for Liam Neeson. We need Thomas Jane back.
I will sign this petition.
We need like mid-2000s, late 90s Thomas Jane back in our lives. Now all he does is side roles in Predator and that weird robot dog movie was at AXL. I saw a trailer for it like 8 times at different movies. But we need. He
was in that show, that HBO show, but that was like early 2010s.
And he was in that Expanse show for Sci-Fi for a couple of seasons. Everyone, like Marvel's bringing back all the Spider-Man characters and stuff for like Spider-Man 3, or I guess Spider-Man No Way Home, or whatever stupid name that they've given it now.
Yeah, No Way I'm watching.
We need them to bring back Thomas Jane Punisher. That's what they.
Yeah, we need that. We need the 3 Punishers, and we need John Barenthal, we need Thomas Jane, and we need Dolph Lundgren.
We need all of them back.
The problem would be is it'll be a PG-13 movie.
Gross.
Like
You're right.
Blade sounds like it's going to be.
Gross.
Mm-hmm.
God, they're gonna ruin Blade again. God. And that's what sucks too, is like Punisher and Blade should be really good action movies, but what they'll do with those characters now is going to be just terrible normal MCU action movies.
You know, some good action. It's not movies, but shows. Daredevil and Punisher were really good with the action.
Because they weren't made by Kevin Feige.
Yeah, that was it. Because I can't remember who the showrunner for Punisher was, but Steven DeKnight did Daredevil at the start, and he's got a good track record. Spartacus, stuff like that.
Because having watched most of WandaVision, the action of that show is not very good.
Non-existent.
But even then, like, we've had some action movies now too, of not even the like, I think an example of where action movies have gone wrong, because you have the John Wick clones, you have Atomic Blonde, you have Hotel Artemis, but you also have like the sad cases like Bad Boys for Life, which has a fantastic script, really well done acting, really funny, but the action sucks.
It does, and it's still a good movie, and it did well. But the action is so cheap, you can tell. Like,
you give that movie really good action, that movie becomes fantastic in a hurry. But
highest grossing movie of 2020, The Crown.
But instead, it has to settle for just being really good, because the script is fantastic, but the direction is pretty bad.
Yeah, it's like shockingly good.
The direction is pretty bad.
As a huge Bad Boys 2 stan, it's basically the opposite of Bad Boys 2, which is a beautiful Coke-fueled action movie that is really weird and definitely would get everyone involved canceled now. And Bad Boys for Life is like actually heartfelt while still being just as funny, but the action is terrible. It's the only time I wish Michael Bay was around.
Because the action in Bad Boys 2 is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's incredible.
When they just invade Cuba and just drive a Hummer through a village. It's so well done. It's so well directed. And it was before he got no shaky
Michael
cam.
Bay working with actors, he's not very good, but action, he can shoot the hell out of it.
And yeah, that was like practical pre-Transformers Michael Bay, where like he really had a good handle on big set pieces.
And big set pieces
he's
is
like
also
CGI robot go burr.
Well, and big set pieces is another lost art form that comes to action movies. Is just mastering. I mean, like Mad Max Fury Road is the good example of just. I mean, it could take place in a desert on cars, but yet they make cars into action set pieces. Every action movie now seems, and this is partially John Wick's fault, takes place in some random parking lot or parking garage or abandoned warehouse or apartment that's lit in shades of green and purple
with candles everywhere.
Colors. Like, it's gonna make me puke one of these times. Like, everybody tries so hard to have that visual look now.
They all look the same too. It all looks it looks like student film.
I misspoke. I said they try super hard. They super lazily have that color scheme.
Yeah. And it all looks the same. It looks bad. It's like a student film. Most of those look like student movies with the way the color. Because I remember back in college doing the whole let's let it multicolor because it looks cool. Not every movie has to look like that. Normal lighting looks fine.
It's okay to be normal.
But I guess
that's like a totally digitally inspired look too.
It is in cheap digital is something we always talk about on here about it looking bad, but it's a big issue, and it's really big in action movies. Now I'm going to end this with one final question for you guys. What does the future of action movies look like to you? Does it look good? Does it look bad? What do you think that the future is?
I think right now it's kind of on the down track, but I'm sure we'll get something along the lines of what John Wick was when it was refreshing before. Something will come around to change the game again, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the middle because you have those, like the clones and all the bad stuff we talked about, and then on the other hand, I've talked about Mission Impossible. That whole series has just absurdly amazing set pieces. Bond is still going mostly strong. The last one, not so much, but generally it's been going strong. Like there's still enough good stuff being shot and made well that I think there's still space for something big to come along and be really good. So I'm kind of in the middle.
And yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I think it looks pretty bleak right now. Not to say that it won't get better. I agree with Justin. I don't know if there will be another John Wick that changes the game, but I think there needs to be.
I hope there is.
We need to see one soon. Because right now the future of action movies, in quotes, is stuff like Marvel movies and Fast and the Furious. Which Fast and the Furious I'm even getting kind of sick of, just because there's no realism in it. And,
but we're going to space.
and I kind of wish there was some.
After that is when it should end, but they'll keep going and it'll get bad.
We gotta go to Mars and fight the Martians.
Fight Elon Musk.
No, he's going with Tom Cruise.
But I'm hoping that someone just finds a new creative way, something like Hardcore Henry, that is actually successful and actually works. And I'm hopeful. Right now, I'm not very happy in how it's looking, but I'm hopeful. Just because movies that should be big ones like Bad Boys for Life have crap action in them. So I'm hopeful.
Then again, with that movie again, you're getting Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, who are kind of past their prime.
Just a little bit.
So I mean, you have to get younger actors to.
Yeah.
We just need people that are willing to cast younger actors, that are willing to take more chances, that are willing to do more Hardcore Henry type stuff, do more nice guy type stuff, and just take risks that may not pay off, but also might.
Take a risk, Hollywood.
Please take a risk. We
thank you.
We need more Mad Max Fury Roads.
Thank you.
We need more action movies. We need the big stuff back, and especially hard R action movies that aren't Deadpool. We need that Expendables type fun again. And with that, we are out of time. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Idiot Plot. Make sure you like and subscribe to us on Spotify. We're also available on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, and now on YouTube. Not video, but we are available for audio on YouTube. And make sure if you think we're stupid, if you think we're right, leave a comment. Let us know what you think about our thoughts. And let us know if there's any topics you want us to cover on a future episode. For Alex Overdahl and Justin Neitzel, I'm David Yanish. Again, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.